Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Great to have you here today on this first house call of the weekend, answering our community's questions, just like we do every Saturday and Sunday. Thanks so much for joining me, whether it is a Saturday or Sunday or not for you. Appreciate you being a part of the Cabral concept community. Like I said, every single weekend we try to get to about a dozen questions from the community. Typically, it takes about 10 to 12 weeks to get your question read live on the show. Do feel free, of course, to write in. And then for same-day answers, I would love you to join CabralSupportGroup.com. It's free, and we provide coaching right there, answering your question, finding you the podcasts over the last 2,700. Today, technically 2,703, if you want to read along with the questions that we've answered over many, many years now. So love to be able to do this. Let's dive into the show. First question today, let me just open up that document. All right, it looks like it's from Marie. Marie says, thank you. Hey, Dr. Ball, thank you for the knowledge you share with your community. I've started listening to your podcast a few months ago, and I feel like I'm finally on track with resolving autoimmune and gut issues. My question is on behalf of my 81-year-old mother. She has essential tremors in her head and neck and hands. She's experienced these around 20 years ago, and they seem to subside for 10 to 15 years and have resurfaced over the past few years. She used to be a vibrant and active person, but over the past few years, the tremors have kept her from many activities. I was wondering if the CBD gummies or other products might be helpful for her. She did experience a minor stroke in May of 2022, but from what I understand, CBD gummies should have no adverse effects. Thanks for your help. Okay, so one, as I always have to share at the beginning of the show, I can't provide you with any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis, but I'm happy to help look for underlying root cause imbalances, which is how we help people and have been helping in our practice now for, well over a decade, many decades. Okay, so what I would look for is, especially as we get into our 80s, what's going on with the neurotransmitters, what's going on with dementia, Alzheimer's, with Parkinson's disease, MS, like that's obviously where we may be going with this, maybe towards Parkinson's, et cetera. But we need to look at a specific diagnosis and always keep in mind that whether it's Alzheimer's, dementia, et cetera, these things can be slowed, halted, and many times even reversed. So it's not that I'm against CBD. I'm not against that at all. But what I want to do is look at, well, what are the underlying root causes? Because if there are issues with like those dopaminergic nerves and their innervation and how dopamine's being formed and moved through the body, we should look at that. Are there heavy metals, right? We should look at that. Are there bacterial-based overgrowth? We should look at that. So I would go deeper. Me personally, you can work with our team. You can work with the Integrative Health Practitioner. You can work with the functional medicine or naturopathic doctor and start running some actual labs to find out what toxicities there may be, because that's an underlying root cause for many of these issues. All right, so I just want to go deeper, Marie. That's really what it's about. Again, if you want to look at the labs, like where to start, you can check out the Big Five at stephencabral.com/labs. But again, you don't have to work with us. You can work with a lot of practitioners. All right, Claudia is up next. Hi, Dr. Ball. I love your podcast. They've been helping me so much in my journey to health. My question is about polyester in clothing. I've been slowly switching over to 100% cotton and linen. I've noticed that Equalife t-shirts are a polyester blend. I thought that polyester releases toxins even if it's recycled polyester, especially when submitted to heat like the dryer or sweating. Could you please share your thoughts on this? Thank you so much for all your hard work and for what you put in these podcasts. Yeah, happy to help. So I have, let me just give you my thoughts on this. So I actually only recommend sleeping on 100% cotton or using wool or using bamboo. Okay, so t-shirts that we have at Equalife are actually bamboo for the most part, but there is one t-shirt that is made from what's called like a tri-poly blend or something like that, I believe, which is what a lot of people prefer when they're going to the gym and they're sweating because it absorbs better and it's not as heavy and doesn't kind of hold the sweat like a bamboo or cotton would. So that's absolutely personal preference, and I totally understand where you're coming from. Polyester itself is absolutely toxic. There's no doubt about that. When it's made into t-shirts, it's been recycled, it's been washed multiple times, which usually things are pre-washed, and you get your shirt, you wash it. There isn't usually the same off-gassing and the same release of these toxins, but I think that there probably is to certain degrees. And so what I would say is, I don't think there's anything wrong with being cautious about this and really moving, if you can, all of your clothing more towards 100% cotton, organic cotton, linen, wool, what else? Maybe even hemp or bamboo, which is a lot of what we recommend, especially for bedding. We're going to be in that for 8 hours, or so a night. So it's a good question, Claudia, and I won't refute that. Cotton, linen, wool, bamboo are absolutely the best, and hemp. Okay. Nancy's up next. Hi, Dr. Rawl. I'm enrolled in level 1 and just completed the module on stress and blood sugar, and I wanted to make sure that I understand. Does black coffee cause blood sugar increase? Thank you, Nancy. Nancy, appreciate you being a part of IHP. If you don't know what IHP is, I can't recommend enough checking out Integrative Health Practitioner.org or just IHP.coach. They'll take you to the same place. I have a podcast that I want you to ask at cabralsupportgroup.com or inside of the IHP private Facebook group. Hey, could you just say, hey, could you share Dr. Cabral's podcast on black coffee or coffee and if it spikes blood sugar? And then you'll get the whole podcast on that and I've done interviews on this, the answer is maybe. So for some people, when they drink black coffee, they get a spike in blood sugar. For others, when they drink black coffee, they don't get a spike in blood sugar. The reason is, some people, it spikes cortisol levels to a great degree, and those cortisol levels, called a glucocorticoid, actually it breaks down stored sugar, called glycogen, from the liver, or maybe even the muscles if the liver's glycogen is depleted, into the bloodstream. So I don't want to say artificially, but I can say endogenously elevating blood sugar levels and then insulin. So it really depends on the individual, and the only way that you'll know is to actually test yours with a glucometer or continuous glucose monitor, all right? And we're gonna be actually sharing great ways as to how to get a much less expensive glucometer or continuous glucose monitor in the future in about 3 weeks from now, so stay tuned. All right, Gemma is up next. I read today that the FDA has approved a pill for the microbiome. First-time approval called SER 109, SER 109. I'm curious to get your opinion on this and whether it is potentially effective for SIBO-C. I've been experiencing SIBO despite all the probiotics and good eating habits and various testing to understand my body, but somehow this gut bacteria thing keeps coming back. So I'm wondering if this is a suitable option for me. I'm not a fan of antibiotics, and I'm not sure if this product is working in that manner. Please explain in English for me what this is doing. Thanks for writing in, and I am glad that people ask me to be the one that explains the medical jargon in actual English for everyday people. So I'm going to go much deeper on this, but this is actually, yes, it is. It's called a microbiome therapeutic. And there could be debate of whether it's the first microbiome therapeutic or not by conventional medicine. But this is for people with C. diff, Clostridium or Clostridia difficile. And this can be a recurring bacteria that's often, unfortunately, got in hospitals and other areas. It's fairly easy to catch. And some people, their immune systems or their bacterial microbiome are not able to push it away. Again, I can't give you medical advice, medical treatment plans. We work with this in a different, more natural fashion through our CBO protocol with the citricidal drops, the CBO finisher. So, but again, I don't want to say that it's a medical treatment. What this is actually a form of bacteroides and is spore-based that they are using with people with C. diff that enables them to not allow that C. diff bacteria to regrow. So what happens is there's still some of the C. difficile spores that can be left, and even when you knock it down, it can start to regrow. So instead of using an antibiotic, they're actually using the spores of a different type of bacteria to preferentially grow in its place. At least that is how I've read the literature so far, is that it's, I'm almost positive that it contains a Firmicutes spore that's healthy for the gut microbiome, that inhibits then the C. diff growth. So I think that there's potential to this. I'm not going to say that there's not. I always like to use all natural means, but when you've exhausted your resources, it might be something worth looking into. So I'll certainly do more research on it, talk more about it, but it's not an antibiotic from my reading of it. It's actually a spore-based probiotic in a way called a microbiome therapeutic. All right, so thanks for writing in. Not just for SIBO, it's actually for C. diff, and I know that you know that, but I just want to reiterate that for our audience. All right, Nicole is up next. I've always had poor gut health. I've done labs and completing the protocols to finally get it taken care of, but there's a good chance that I passed poor gut health down to, is there a good chance I passed poor gut health down to my son, who's 15 months old? He has an egg sensitivity, gets a rash, and throws up when he eats eggs. He also has eczema. He's received all of his vaccines in order to attend daycare. He also had numerous rounds of antibiotics for ear infections prior to getting tubes. I gave him a probiotic with each round of antibiotics, only fed him organic grass-fed cow's milk and organic non-GMO home-cooked whole foods until I can run lab tests when he is 4 years old to address specifics. What else can be done for him in the meantime? I mean, I totally see where you're coming from. I understand. I don't necessarily think that a mother passes down poor gut health to their child. What can be passed down is some yeast overgrowth, potential, maybe some bacteria, potential. But what I want to share is that it's the actual antibiotics and maybe other therapeutics that were used could lead to more gut issues and then to eczema. And so what we look to do is just to make sure that a child's removing a lot of the food sensitivities, that the mom, if the mother's breastfeeding, removes their food sensitivities, and that we start to just get good whole food, clean nutrition to the 15-month-old. And for the most part, I think it looks like you're doing a great job with that. We might want to start to add in some maybe natural probiotics. Maybe we use something like the Clean Gut Probiotic, a small amount in some water, but maybe we're using things such as a fermented kefir or sauerkraut or anything that the child may enjoy to get some of those good bacteria back in. And then a lot of children have less of what's called the B. infantis strain and the L. reuteri strain. And then just keep in mind for the eczema, we often see that linked to food sensitivities such as gluten, milk, and eggs. Those are the top three that we see. There are others as well, but those are for sure the top three. All right, Nicole, wish you all the best. Keep pushing forward, and I know you're going to get there. Let's go about one more question. All right, this one's from Marlise. What are your thoughts about galactin-3 and the use of modified citrus pectin? Okay, now it looks like it is two separate questions, but correct me if I'm wrong, Marlise. You can write in, or you can write into cabralsupportgroup.com. So galactin-3, or GAL3, is essentially a biomarker that we look at for insulin resistance and sometimes PCOS and sometimes obesity in women. So it's something that we look at, that's something that, like, do I have a big thought process about it? Not necessarily. And the reason is that I like to use underlying root cause reasons why. So there's a lab called the stress, mood, and metabolism test that we run. Again, non-diagnostic, but really, what are we looking at? High testosterone, estrogen dominance, high levels of cortisol, low levels of thyroid, high levels of hemoglobin A1C or insulin, and low vitamin D. So there's almost like nothing better to finding out the underlying root causes of PCOS than that lab, right? So that's what we do. You can find that at stephencabral.com/labs. It's called the stress, mood, and metabolism, or I believe the direct link is stephencabral.com/hormones-test. So that's absolutely what I would do. Now, do I believe in modified citrus, pectin? So it's really, when we're talking about, like, do I believe in something, it's what do I believe in it for? That's more the question, right? Do I believe in modified citrus pectin as part of an overall detoxification protocol, maybe for heavy metals, maybe for some bacteria in the gut? Yes, I don't have necessarily an issue for that. And I never use citrus pectin in and of itself for any detoxification protocol, nor would I ever. I look at it as one useful tool when used with something like, as part of a universal binder or part of a CBO protocol or part of a heavy metal detox, but never would I use it kind of all by itself. But yes, I certainly believe in it. I've seen the research, and the research supports that it is quite good for a variety of issues, not just for detox, but actually the immune system, may help with prostate-based inflammation, like I said, may help with overall immune system, natural killer cells, B cells, etc. So hopefully that was helpful. Thanks so much, everybody, for writing in. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I'll be back tomorrow answering more of our community's questions. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.